Okay, so there's, of course, been a lot of confusion, and as of Monday night, wearing a mask became optional on the Metrolink commuter rail system and LA County's metro system on Tuesday. But by Friday, commuters who use public transit in LA County were required to mask up again. LA County issued a new public health order that started Friday at 12 a.m., which requires everyone aged 2 and older, regardless of their vaccination status, to wear a mask. I want to bring in our political panel now to talk about this. Jeff Crouere, Louisiana Talk radio host and GOP strategist, and Matt Bennett, co-founder of Third Way and former Clinton White House deputy special assistant. Thank you to both for being with us on this kind of confusing Saturday for a lot of Americans. I just got off a plane, and many people were not wearing a mask. Some were choosing to. A lot of people, though, talking about this. We've got states and cities doing all sorts of different things based on transmission rates. And Matt, I want to ask you first, you know, the president really hasn't helped when it comes to adding to the confusion, because this week he was telling reporters people should be able to decide whether to wear a mask on a plane or not. And then he confused the mask mandate with Title 42. Watch this.
Is your administration going to appeal the mask mandate ruling?
I've not gotten any brief from the CDC. I don't know.
When will you talk to the
science.
CDC? So, Matt, can you understand why so many people are just confused? Because the messaging is kind of all over the place.
Look, COVID has had a variety of messages involved in the public health crisis for 2 years. We've seen different jurisdictions, sometimes different within a state, taking different actions at different times. There have been lockdown orders and mask mandates, vaccine requirements. This is part of life with a pandemic or an endemic disease like COVID. So I don't think that we're experiencing anything all that different right now. And let's be clear about where this confusion is coming from. It's coming from a decision by a judge who was appointed by President Trump. She was rated unqualified by the ABA, and she wrote a terrible decision and made a big mistake and caused a lot of confusion. The mandate on public transit was set to expire on May 3rd. She chose to wade in with a bad decision 10 days early and caused all kinds of confusion.
Well, let's talk about that decision from the judge, Jeff. You know, usually when you file for an appeal, as the Department of Justice is, you also file for a temporary stay, because the focus is to try, apparently, if this is a public health crisis, to get masks back on people's faces. But that's not happened. Why do you think that that's not happened? Why aren't we seeing a stay being called for? Is this about people's safety, or is this about the precedents that this sets?
Aisha, this is about the administration trying to extend their power. It's not about health. It's not about airlines. The CEOs of all these airlines are saying that they wanted to get rid of this mask mandate because their employees were being put at risk. Passengers hated it. The air in these planes is safer than the air you breathe in a restaurant. They have air filtration systems. Do you know, Aisha, when this decision was announced, you had passengers celebrating, you had flight attendants celebrating, you had all these videos coming out. We've had 2 years of this. As you pointed out, there's been confusion from the Biden administration. The American people are done with COVID. They're ready to get back to their normal lives. They want to be able to eat where they want to eat, travel where they want to travel without wearing these masks. It's irritating. And by the way, Aisha, it doesn't do anything as far as protecting you. I mean, studies have shown it's all about virtue signaling. I mean, the type of masks that do any kind of good are not the masks that 99% of the people are wearing. So it's really a ridiculous requirement, and the American people want to move on. And these airline CEOs, they know best about the health and safety of their passengers and their employees. They're the ones that petitioned the Biden administration to end this. They've had enough. All these incidents, Aisha, of unruly passengers all started increasing when the mask mandate was put in place. Why subject these employees to that? Subject the passengers to that? I want to defend this judge. She made a great decision. Not having the recommendation of the ABA is a badge of honor. I think she is one of the best judges that I've seen that the Trump administration appointed, and I give her high marks. It was a courageous decision, and I think it really is something the American people support.
Yeah, Matt, I want to get your response, because I saw you shaking your head before I went to Jeff. Why is there no call for a stay?
Well, a couple things. First of all, what Jeff said about masks is simply not true. Wearing a mask, a KN95 mask, which is easily available for anybody, really substantially helps cut down both your risk of getting COVID and other people's. So that's just fake. What I think the reason that they're not petitioning for a stay is because it was set to expire on May 3rd anyway. But the reason they have to appeal this terrible decision is that this kind of thing could happen again. We could have another pandemic. We probably will. We live in this global society, and pandemics are going to become relatively common, and we have to have the public health authority to take steps to protect people. Almost 1 million Americans have died from COVID. 1 million.
Right.
And that's a really horrifying statistic. That's people without fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers and kids. We have got to have the ability to protect people when these pandemics strike.
Jeff, really quickly, I do want to get to this because we're running out of time. I just want to ask, because I know there is some talk about this, there has been on Capitol Hill, when it comes to the CDC and the confusion after everything we've gone through for the past 2.5 years, the loss of trust that some people feel they have lost with the CDC. Do you think the CDC director should be a congressional approved position? It's not currently. The president just decides who comes in and takes over the CDC. Do you think that they should go through what others go through before they're appointed?
Of course, I think the CDC leadership has been very questionable. I think their decisions have been back and forth. I mean, flip-flopping from the very beginning. I'd like to see a new CDC director. I'd like to see Dr. Fauci fired. I think he has done a horrible job. And that's one of the reasons that we have all this confusion out there. We get conflicting signals from the Biden administration, from the CDC. The American people are confused. There is not good leadership on this.
Okay.
And of course, Congress needs to play a bigger role.
Matt,
definitely.
really quickly to you, yes or no? CDC directors, should they be appointed? Yes or no?
Sure, I have no problem with that.
Great. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate your thoughts and your expertise. Hope to see you soon again. Griff?